Hi guys, my name is Thais, and if you are watching this from YouTube, please keep in mind that you can find some shorter other tip box videos like this on our Instagram account, which I have the link in the description below. And if you're watching this from Instagram, keep in mind that I have a whole bunch of really long form videos on YouTube, which you can also find in the description below. So we are creating advanced attachment style courses that are dealing with the 6 stages of a relationship and how each attachment style shows up in each of those stages with their protest behaviors, core wounds, and how to reprogram and reparent these different aspects of the self, as well as some shadow integration for feelings of unworthiness courses and many more exciting courses to come. So please stay tuned and check out our course list every month because we keep creating new content and updating it. So in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about the dismissive avoidant and their basically habit, which is a subconscious coping mechanism and protection mechanism due to pain points in the past, but their habit of avoiding vulnerability. Now, their fear of vulnerability for the dismissive avoidant essentially comes about because the dismissive avoidant in childhood felt a lot of pain around being vulnerable. It didn't feel good. And so there's a lot of programmed negative associations because their vulnerability was not responded to in a positive way. So often they just felt kind of alone and helpless in their vulnerability and like they had to figure it out by themselves. So this fear of vulnerability that then gets embedded in the programming at a subconscious level for the dismissive, it can cause them to have this need to isolate or hide sometimes. And this can be something they're so accustomed to doing, they don't even really realize that they are doing it. They may not fully sort of recognize that they have these habits of isolating or hiding, especially when they're under stress. So this excessive need for space can impact their romantic relationships, their family relationships, and even their friendships over time. So a little tip for the dismissive avoidant in this situation is we want to first bring this to the conscious awareness. We want to become aware that this is happening in the first place. So here's what you can do. You can first make a list of the 7 areas of life. And these are your career, your financial life, your mental, your emotional, mental being like learning, emotional being like emotional regulation and emotional depth and awareness, spiritual, physical, and then relationships. And you can even separate relationships into 3 categories, being friends, family, and romantic. And what you want to do is look at all those different areas, put them on a piece of paper, and then ask yourself, where do I withdraw, hide, isolate, or even just disconnect in any of these areas of my life? And just take inventory first because you'll be really surprised at what comes up. And then in the column next to it, here's what you really want to do to address the root cause of this. You want to ask yourself, what am I afraid of that I'm avoiding? That's creating this pattern? What am I afraid of that's creating this pattern of avoidance in any of these areas of my life? And this could even be things like I'm avoiding taking accountability for my finances. I'm avoiding showing up for my physical health. So take a look there, really tune in. And then once you've asked yourself what I'm avoiding and why, or, what I'm afraid of, ask yourself what scares you about maybe it's in your social life. Maybe you're like, oh, I avoid, really committing to social things. Okay, well, what scares you about being around people for long periods of time? Is it just a preference, or is it actually some kind of underlying fear or insecurity or uncertainty that you're avoiding? If it's in your workplace, maybe you say, oh, I avoid speaking up to coworkers, and so I isolate myself when I feel frustrated instead of going and communicating through a problem. So ask yourself, what frightens you, or what are you afraid could happen if you speak up to your coworkers? And what you'll see is that you've got all these little embedded subconscious fears because of pain points in your past, and now they're fully there. Now they're conscious and on paper. And now what you can do is start working with those beliefs themselves, questioning them, equilibrating them, or even using exposure response tools that I'll talk about in the next video to properly and effectively work through some of these fears that you're carrying in your subconscious mind so you no longer have to be imprisoned by them.